because you, Ahmed, have been through these different communities in the sense of living in different countries. And while for some people it might not be as drastic as moving country, it might just be as simple as moving to a different area, trying to change their friendship group, or obviously we're saying here's the Mentalk Ubuntu community. So if you wanted to find other like-minded people or people going where you're going or trying to do things you're trying to do, go ahead. But you might not necessarily feel
Mm,
like you belong in that community just yet because these are new people. You don't
yes,
know how to behave, what to do. So,
yes.
what are some of the, I guess, best strategies for you that have enabled you to integrate with other communities?
So one of the things that one of the lessons that I value the most is that you are always somewhere in the journey to the full belonging to a community. So don't get discouraged because you still haven't got your place within a community that you wish to belong to. You you kind of have there is a certain element uh, of being uh, to deserve your place in a community, and that comes with from the contributions that you make to that community. So yeah, so that's the lessons that I've learned so far. I might still not feel that I fully belong in here, but I know from my previous experiences that I am somewhere in that journey, and uh, one day or another, I will get to a point where I find my place within that community where I can contribute the most to the advancement of the whole society.
Fascinating. I feel like there's a underlying question that we might not be asking, and I think we're making, or at least I am. I'll speak for me. I feel like I'm making a lot of assumptions about you just being okay and getting here. I feel like
Mm.
underlying all these different transitions and moves and getting to here has been maybe some hardship and
Oh yeah.
moments of, I don't know, not feeling amazing, right? So a big part of the conversations we tend to have, especially with Ray sometimes, are around mental health. So when you're going through these different transitions and you're moving to these different countries and having to readjust and find another place that you belong, even till now,
Mm,
I mean, you're talking about you're doing studying and all sorts of things
mm.
going on and just the normal everyday pressures. The question becomes just how, what is your kind of maybe what's your mental health story, right? Like,
Mm. No, that's a good question. Yeah, it is a really difficult journey. Like I can't think of anything more difficult than trying to integrate in the society because at sometimes it doesn't feel like it's worth it, especially when you are changing your ways to fit in. You know that feeling where you are somewhere and around people who don't look anything like you, and you start uh, behaving in ways that you haven't behaved in before, just to fit in. You feel that little kind of feeling of embarrassment, I would say.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and it is not an easy process. You try and you fail and you try again and you fail and you try again and you fail. And within that journey, the most rewarding thing is the self-discovery. So deep inside you, you kind of tap into powers that you didn't imagine you have before. And I think that's the beauty of it.
what's the power you sort of discovered about yourself?
Um, an easy one is ability to um, learn cultures,
Hmm.
and it's just amazing. And as I speak to you now, I have close friends from at least 20 countries. I can now go into any of these countries and I have a place where I can stay and kind of live the local cultural experience. I have no problem with that now. And before coming here, I didn't know that I have that.
So, you know, 20 people that you know from different countries. Wow.
At
I wish I
least.
could have 20 people. I'm doing something wrong. I need to learn from you, clearly. The expert. No, I'm obviously intrigued as well to just, delve a little bit deeper as well. So in Sudan, I mean, when it comes to men and mental health, like if you could, paint the picture, because again, I don't want to assume, because I know in
Mm,
Africa, when it comes to mental health, it's more case of like, oh, it doesn't exist, and it's more associated to for you to be in a crazy person unit, some sort of
mm,
institution where you're basically, tied up and things like that kind of thing.
yeah, yeah.
So, what's mental health in Sudan, especially for men there at the moment? What's the general? Is there any taboos or anything like that?
There is definitely taboos, and seeing both sides and living in both sides, it is difficult to kind of explain it now because the way people look at mental health over there is completely different to what people think of mental health over here. Um, an example is, or it's not an example, it's just the way of life doesn't allow for people to kind of either go into either extremes of being really well mentally or really not well mentally. People are always hovering in the middle. And the reason is because people live so close to each other. Whenever someone exhibit kind of divergent behavior, people pull them back. You don't have the time for yourself that is afforded by how people live in the West, in the UK, for example. And that was one of the difficulties for me transitioning to here because I have always been around people 100% of the time, except when I'm asleep. Where here it's kind of I came here by myself. It might be just an special case, but still kind of this is the general way of life. And for that reason, mental health is viewed differently when someone actually get an actual serious mental health problem back in Sudan. The way people deal with that, uh, uh, it's similar the way people deal with someone who's schizophrenic or have an actual physiological problem.